Hi friends, this is going to be a long one. This video was never meant to be as long as it ended up, but here we are. And I'm actually recording an intro for the video that you're about to watch right now because I really went through and edited this one. I'm starting to get more into editing these videos that I've been putting together, and what an interesting journey. So in the video that you're about to watch, which is my kind of commentary on an interview that Andy Signor from Popcorn Planet did with Sam Lutfi in regards to the Free Britney situation and Britney Spears. So there's a couple things that I just wanted to address real quick before we get into that video. And I only did commentary for the first episode because Andy over at Popcorn Planet has it in 3 parts. It's a playlist, which, by the way, there's a link to that playlist in the description if you are watching this on YouTube. So after I clipped out the ads and everything, the first segment of the interview ended up only being about 19 minutes. But if you've been watching me for a while, you already know I am a wordy bitch. And I interjected quite a bit, which, I mean, that's the point of commentary. But one of the reasons that I am doing this with this whole Britney Spears just traumatizing situation for her. And I kind of started following it along more at the beginning. You know, I've been alienated parent for about 4 years now. And I feel like bridging the gap between how parental alienation can happen to someone as rich and powerful as Britney Spears and someone, down by the poverty level over here like little Jaime. That greed really does lie on every level, and there are certain parallels. And I feel like, honestly, almost every parental alienation situation. And when I say parental alienation situation, you guys, I don't mean when a child is separated from a parent because that parent is dangerous. What I mean is when a child is trafficked. And that's another thing. I use that word a lot in this video. For legal purposes, as we all know, everyone's innocent until proven guilty in any court of law. And nothing that I'm saying is legal advice to anyone else. I also address in the commentary that one of the reasons that I have been able to speak out the way that I have is because it's been 4 years and there's nothing left to take from me. But that's a very unique situation. Like, everything's already been taken the way that it all played out. All I have left is my voice. And if I can't get into a court of law, I need to be able to use my agency in delivering the truth somehow. I need to do it for myself. I need to do it for my children in the future. And I need to do it for everyone else that this could possibly happen to. I will be the cautionary tale. I have no problem with that at all. I go into a lot of personal details within the commentary of this man speaking about what he witnessed and experienced, Sam Lutfi, when the ride that they took Britney on was all starting. And I also address in this video that, I go into it very thoroughly, that I never, ever, ever wanted to speak negative about either of my children's fathers, ever. You don't ever want to do that. And like I said, I talk about it again in the video. But after being effectively erased and having my children used as weapons, brainwashed, manipulated in so many ways, I've been given no other option, because otherwise it all just gets forgotten and they lose a mother forever. The truth has to be told at this point. And also, Josh knows. And let me say this right now. For any individual's name that is mentioned on my website, acourthousekidnapping.com, Josh could come over here. They all know where I live. They have my number. Even the lawyers, if wanted to find a way to reach out to me, you would be surprised what wonders can be done with logic and reason and accountability. This story has to be told, and there are certain ways that it can be. I have chosen to tell it in a very personal manner, and that was a decision that I had to make at that moment, and I don't regret doing that. But at the same time, as a mother, this isn't a fight that anyone wants. It's not one I ever wanted. It's not one I want to spend. It's not one I wanted. And it's not one I'm trying to perpetuate. If we could end this nonsense now, I've said in so many of my videos, come over. All you have to do is co-parent with me. That's it. It's not that hard. So when I was editing the video that you're about to watch, I realized how hard I went in on Josh. And I did. I go in on pretty hard in this. But the thing is, it should all be unnecessary. One, it should have never happened. And two, it shouldn't still be happening. The only people who have the power to end this are the people that my children were trafficked to. I don't have that power. I am using the only thing that I have left, which is my voice. And once again, none of this is legal advice, because like I said, and I'll talk about it in the video you're about to watch, they already took everything. There's nothing left to take, nothing to lose. There's nothing for me to lose. 4 years have passed. This is where we are now. And you guys, just because we don't like how we got here doesn't change the fact of where we're standing right now. That is life. That's just life. So I just wanted to kind of warn everyone watching that, yes, there is 19 minutes of an interview between Andy Signor and Sam Lutfi within what you're about to watch, but it's mostly me putting truth out into the world, because it needs to be somewhere. It needs to be somewhere. You know, you guys, Freud said, unexpressed emotions do not die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. That is very true. The truth needs to be somewhere. And my voice is all I have left. Everything else is. So, there's that. But yeah, any person named on my website could reach out to me. And I've been looking for nothing but a resolution, high and freaking low, and I have yet to find one. So, if someone has one to offer, I'm all ears. This is logic, you guys. I'm not holding resentment within my heart, but I am looking for a resolution. Also, in this video, I talk about how we are not sure if Britney's on drugs. And it has since come out that she has entered into rehab. And I just want to still kind of make a little statement on that. First of all, just because she entered rehab doesn't mean she did it for drugs, because trauma recovery centers, psych wards, rehab, they can all fall under the umbrella of different things. Two, if Britney Spears does feel like she has a substance abuse problem, to think about how brave that is for her to voluntarily, because that's what all the reports are saying, that she voluntarily entered into rehab after being confined for so long. I mean, wow. And if that's what she feels she needs, I'm all for it. I do worry about, though, because historically, there have been times when she was being moved around and it was put in the media as if certain things were her choice when they were not her choice. And I don't know, that whole DUI thing was sketchy. Now they're talking as an alleged DUI. Because remember, she didn't have a .08 and there were no drugs in her car. I don't know. And I said, and I'm going to link, this is another thing. If you are watching this on YouTube, first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. And in the description, oh my God, there's so many links. There's so many links for this video. There's to BJ's channel, Andy's channel. I have a lot of links to my videos. We got links for days. It's like how Dane Cook does his little imitation of Oprah. Like, you're getting a link, and you're getting a link, and you're getting a link. Everyone's getting their own link. Oh my goodness. For anyone watching this that worked with me at Chevy's, it's going to be cracking up because we used to joke about that all the time. Everyone's getting humpback whales. Okay, we're back. This is my ADD tangent. I actually don't do that as much in the video you're about to watch. I'm going to leave that in there, though, because that's hilarious. So, if Britney Spears has taken it upon herself to enter a substance abuse program because she's suffering from substance abuse, that makes me so proud. That is strength. After everything. And you guys got to go watch BJ Investigates playlist on her. They put that woman through a lot. I don't know. But prayers for Britney in either way. Substance abuse is something, whether it has happened to you or a family member or a good friend, is something that has touched pretty much all of us in one way or another. It's hard to meet someone who hasn't either suffered from some kind of addiction, whether it be minor or a major addiction at some point in their lives, or known someone or been related to someone who has. And for a lot of us, we have lost people due to that disease. And if she went to rehab because she thinks she has a substance abuse problem, I feel like that's just another example of her being a really good mother. You know, a very strong mother. Some of you know, some of you don't. When my daddy passed away, I was 25, and I speak so highly of my father. Always so much respect. I feel like he's been more of a parent to me than my living parent for a while. And he's, like I said, he's long deceased. He's right there. There he is. That's his urn. But he passed away from cirrhosis of the liver because he had started drinking probably before I was born. And he was only 50 years old. I was 25. So if that's what she's doing to nip something in the bud so she can be there for her babies forever. Not forever. None of us are going to live forever. But if so, she could be there for her children. That I have so much admiration for that. Actually, as I do with anyone who chooses to get clean, recovery is always possible. Recovery is always possible. So, prayers for Britney. I hope that she is safe, and I hope that if this what she feels like she needs, I hope that she gets the help that she needs and doesn't get taken advantage of again. We don't know. We are out here. We always have to remember that. And that's another reason why I tell so much of my story, even in the interview response. There's certain things you can absolutely deduce, but for the most part, we weren't there. But I have been keeping up heavily with this story, mostly on the BJ Investigates channel. That link is in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Courthouse Kidnapping YouTube channel. Hashtag the Courthouse Kidnapping. Put it in your YouTube search bar and enter. Well, pop right up. It's white logo with little scales of justice on it. One more thing, and this is very important. So my editing of these videos is evolving. It is coming. It's coming. It's coming along. And when I was editing this one, first of all, those of you who listen to my videos for long periods of time, oh my goodness, y'all are amazing, because this voice is a lot. Y'all are the real MVP, especially since it's so raspy over the last couple months. I need to see a throat doctor, and I'm going to. I've just been trying to soothe it with coffees and teas, but I will be getting there eventually. We'll get there. Sometimes there are just situations beyond our control that you gotta work with what you got. And this is what I got right now, for now. But this is the last thing. While I was editing what you're about to watch, there were certain parts that I heard myself say things, and I thought, I need to clarify that somehow. So what I did was I added a bell, because some people watch these, they're not watching them, they're just listening to them, because why would they? It's just me talking. You know what I mean? I don't have cool graphics usually. I haven't gotten that far in my content creation journey yet. I'm working on it. I'm learning. But so if you're just listening to it, I have added a bell. This one. So when you hear that noise, I want to let you know to look at the screen, because I have put a graphic or words on the screen that pertains to whatever I just said. It might be a clarification. It might be some kind of reminder. They're all throughout there. So remember, when you hear this sound, redirect your eyeballs to whatever you're watching this on, because there's something has just popped up on the screen that I am trying to draw your attention to. Okay, I think that's everything. So, like I said, I'm sorry this is so long, probably over an hour and a half long. For those of you who make it to the end, the fact that you would spend that much time listening to me speak in this shrill voice is the most beautiful thing. You guys are awesome, and I'm just so grateful for every single one of you, and I try to say that in all of my videos, because I am. It's palpable, my gratitude for all of you. I'll never forget that gratitude, ever. My spirit has kept me alive. Y'all have pushed me along a little. So, you're about to listen to me talk again for like another 30 minutes. The interviewing part is more at the end of the video, to be honest. But anyways, Thank you so much. Once again, all of you, don't forget to subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, go over YouTube and subscribe or follow on Facebook. And there's also a Courthouse Kidnapping Facebook page too. So enjoy the show. Hi, friends. Hello, Courthouse Kidnapping on YouTube. Hello, Facebook. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. So, probably around the end of last year, I was going to add a section to the Courthouse Kidnapping channel on the trafficking of Britney Spears and her children. And it was like right after Kevin Federline's book came out. Anyway. And I clipped what you're looking at right now. I clipped it and recorded it and because Andy Signor did a interview with Sam Lutfi, and this individual was around her when all of this was happening, when the setup was happening. It's very clear to me and a lot of other people that this woman was set up and then drugged to what she is now, which is still an amazing, beautiful woman, but it's an amazing, beautiful, terrified woman. She's terrified. She's terrified, and she has every reason to be. She has every reason to be. She's so scared. You can see it. People, and everyone wants to judge her after everything that's happened. It's so frustrating. As an alienated mother, I kind of started following Free Britney stuff the first year after everything that happened to my babies. And it obviously caught my eye for many reasons. And I started following on the BJ Investigates channel, which I will link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. I've linked her channel in multiple of the videos that I've made. She just is so insightful. And I think she's seeing things very clearly with this whole Britney situation. Now, BJ Investigates, unless she had it under that Surprise Witness channel. She has a couple different channels. She went to law school, passed the bar, became a lawyer. She was a lawyer. She landed an amazing job, I think she said in New York, with a really good law firm. And she had already been making these Free Britney videos before she got hired at that law firm. She got hired at this law firm, and the woman who was one of the many responsible for the trafficking of Britney Spears, Lou Taylor. Lou Taylor has also been linked to Diddy, so I just want to throw that out there. With TriStar Sports, hired the law firm that BJ was just hired at to work there as an attorney. Lou Taylor hired that law firm so that it would become a conflict of interest if their new attorney that they had just hired, BJ, worked there and was still making these videos. You see how people use the system to shut people up? So BJ was basically presented with an option that said, if you want to work here, you've worked so hard to get here. You completed law school. You passed the bar exam. You have everything. This is your dream. But you gotta shut up and stop making those videos if you want to work here. Because one of Britney's traffickers had just hired them for something else. And this woman, BJ, said, how about no? How about I'm going to keep telling the truth because it's the right thing to do over what I have no doubt was a 6-figure salary. And now she's a YouTuber. So, with all that being said, that was how I kind of started following the whole Britney thing. So BJ goes in and breaks down like her court documents, breaks down what actually was filed, and reads between all of the bullshit in almost all of those documents. They hide things in so many words that are just blatant lies and fabrications. I just did a video about, because people have been talking about how Britney's boys are just only want to hang out with her now because the child support that she was paying their father is run out because they're 18. Oh my God. And by the way, it has been reported that, and this was just last year, they just turned 18 last year. So in a matter of less than a year, their father, the responsible one, already has creditors coming after him because he can't live off Britney's money anymore from those children. See why they traffic? You see, Kevin would have had to get a job. Well, actually, probably not, because Britney seems like such a good mother. And you're going to hear Sam Lutfi. This was her best friend at the time. He was the one that was there. He was the one that was boots on the ground with Britney when everything happened. And this setup that the public sees versus the lens from the inside is so vastly different. So the video that I just made is called A Mother's Heart, because people are talking about her sons, that they only want to hang out with her now because that money has been cut off, because that their child support has been cut off. They're not getting anything from their daddy. Their daddy don't have anything. Their daddy never had anything anyways. It was all Britney. And I made a little video kind of saying, even if that's true, I bet she doesn't care, because those are her children. That's her heart. And I'm an alienated parent. And if I had millions and millions and millions of dollars, hell yeah, I'd give it all to them. Every penny. Because no amount of money equals the love for your children. It just doesn't. Not when you have a true mom's heart. And the title is A Mother's Heart. So, if you're watching this on Facebook, don't forget to go over YouTube and do a hashtag a courthouse kidnapping. It'll come up. And that video is called A Mother's Heart. And it's mostly about that. But when I was about to start doing this, I realized that my computer didn't have enough space because it told me so. And this is an older computer. I mean, it's not older. I got it in 2019, but in tech years, that's ancient. I think it's Moore's Law. Statistically, technology is supposed to double like every 18 months. So we're in 2026 now. I got this in 2019. I realized after I started making these videos that it kept saying load disk space, load disk space. And this was after I'd already clipped this. What you're seeing, you guys should be so proud of me, because I clipped this all from Andy's channel, and I don't have YouTube Premium because I'm not going to pay $15 a month for something I can get for free. That's not how my brain works. So I cut out the ads and everything. So this was on the first episode. He has his Popcorn Planet. I'll link that below too. And this was the first episode in a playlist of 3 where he is interviewing Sam Lutfi. And he did this right when Kevin Federline's book came out too, because a lot of us from the outside looking in are like, someone needs to speak for her. She can't speak for her. You can tell that there's so much she wants to say. And I don't think she's allowed to, for whatever the reason. Remember, we're out here looking in. I know that there's a lot of things that I want to say about things that have happened to me. And right now, I can't. I can't. Not because I can't say it, not because I don't know what it is, but because of certain circumstances that are not conducive with me telling those truths just right now. You know, and a lot of times there's, especially with Britney, there's control, there's coercive control that people are under that you can't see from the outside. So that was why Andy did this. And Andy was following, from Popcorn Planet, Andy was following the whole trial. If you guys go back and listen to when she was able to talk to the judge, you could tell she was nervous. You could tell she was panicked. You could tell she was out of breath just from speaking. And that's from trauma. That's not because anyone's crazy. That's from trauma. Her speech patterns in that interview with the courts that was aired everywhere, that was a traumatized person trying so hard to put into words things that are unspeakable that happened to them. That woman is a survivor. And I have no doubt that she's still being set up because she's surrounded by losers. I've been there. It's her family. If you are lucky enough to come from a family who are salty or good people and understand what family is and aren't willing to sell you down the river for however much money or out of whatever spite and your kids, then count your blessings, because it's a lonely world otherwise. And that's something that I really feel like I can identify. How I have it set up is I have my camera on the computer, and then I have the media player playing the interview that I already clipped all the ads out of up here. And then I have a recorder, you guys can see down here, see, recording the screen. I don't think this is how reaction channels do it. I know that somewhere there is a program that just does this, and I don't have to have all of these things open, but we're all just doing the best we can out here. So this is what we got this time for this one. So another reason that I'm bringing the whole Britney thing into my channel on a courthouse kidnapping is because what happened with me happened to someone who was not in any way rich or wealthy or I had already been disabled for 10 years from chronic illness and financially abandoned by the husband who was getting paid to take care of 4 people. He wasn't taking care of 4 people. He was taking care of himself. I was doing the best I could to keep it together and just try to find a way. I mean, I didn't even really date in the couple years between Josh left and all that happened because I wasn't really focused on that. I was focused on trying to figure out how I was, and this body has not helped. COVID did not help. COVID was a big catalyst in why they were able to do what they did. And it's just all these little things that kind of add up, you know. As a coping mechanism, we all tend to feel like when we see something happening with another person that is tragic and traumatic, we tend to tell ourselves that could never happen to us. But in this situation, when it comes to litigation trafficking and these lawyers pushing people around for their own gain, children, in her case, a grown woman and her children, and for her, it's not thousands. For her, it's millions. Their lawyers are making millions. Mine were making thousands. So, yeah, there's a difference when you talk about, if you want to talk about socioeconomic status. Yes, there's a difference, but it doesn't matter. Greed lies at every level. It can happen. With her, she had all the money in the world, and it still happened to her. I had nothing. It still happened to me. Trafficking lawyers exist, and it's disgusting, and they don't abide by the Constitution at all, and nobody stops them. This poor woman has had everything taken from her. The Constitution did not save her because we have lawyers that walk right through it. And forgive me, I'm homegrown. I'm just a regular person from Virginia, but I was raised that the Constitution applied to everyone. All men created equal? Not anymore. Not anymore. So, let's get back to this. This is Andy Signor's interview with Sam Lutfi. And I am going to do a little bit of commentary, be stopping it and saying little notes, because I feel like if I can bring the parallels to the public of the same thing with a poor person and a rich person, then it will be a lot easier to digest psychologically and intellectually for everyone else who doesn't want to think that this could happen to anyone, when really it can happen to anyone. Doesn't matter how good you are. Doesn't matter if you're a good parent. Doesn't matter how much you love your babies. They will buy them. They can be bought from you. Our children are for sale. Our children are for sale. Just ask Janet Naderman, Leilani Adams, or Teresa Berry. Our children are definitely for sale. We don't want to believe that because it's disgusting and gross, but it's the truth. So this is episode 1. I'm going to end up doing the others as well. I'm sorry that it's taken so long to get this out. But we're here now. Let's go. Okay, so this is Andy talking about what happened with Britney a little bit. Like I said already, he's just going to jump right into it, and then we'll watch him interview Sam. And when I saw it in the beginning, when he first released it, I just thought, oh my goodness, I have so much to say, because everything that this dude is saying makes complete sense. And the way that dude, Sam Lutfi, was villainized, demonized, was entirely villainized during that time makes sense now too, because it feels like he was the only person that was trying to protect her. And if you are a target and they are trying to take you down and you have someone protecting you, you bet your ass they're going to try to take them down too. We all just saw what happened with the whole Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. I think Rebel Wilson is in a lawsuit where people are making up lies about each other. I don't know that she had anything to do with it. I haven't really looked into it. I just kind of got a little stirrings. Heard about it a little. I don't know that Rebel Wilson did anything wrong. Like I said, I don't know. I think it was a PR. I think it was between PR, which she probably didn't even know about. But it would make sense to me now, especially in hindsight, looking back, that whatever stories came out about this Sam Lutfi guy were certainly planted. Because if they can't tear you down, they're going to tear down your credibility. And it honestly seems like he was pushed out and he tried everything he could. Got any respect for Sam Lutfi. Also, Sam Lutfi, remember, that's not her husband. Her husband was Sam Ashgari, I think. And he has nothing but nice things to say about her still to this day. They were only married a year. They've been divorced, I don't know, I guess a couple years. But still, he still in interviews goes to bat for Britney. Like he just said recently, in the midst of this whole Iranian war stuff going on, in an interview, I heard it with my own ears. I saw it come out of his mouth. He said when it comes to Britney, that's the closest thing he has ever seen to the level of oppression that women deal with in Iran. And he lived with her. I'm telling you guys, there's got to be more that we don't know. People judging her baffles me. Okay, let's see. Take it away, Andy.
Affected by tabloids that treated her pain like entertainment. Every meltdown was a headline. Every tear was a photo op. The head shaving, the hospital visits, the custody battles with K-Fed, the chaos that ended with her family.
That picture that you just saw of her sitting there with her baby in tears, I mentioned that in that specific picture in the video that I just made, I think last week, the one that I was just telling you about, called A Mother's Heart. It was that one I talk about that picture. In that, it was one we also so heartbreaking.
See through a conservatorship. Looking back now, it was terrifying. A cultural feeding frenzy that pushed a young mother to the edge. Millions off her suffering. And right there, at the height of it all, stood one man, Sam Lutfi. The only one who actually tried to help. Lutfi always insisted he blamed the family, that they were the ones controlling, not protecting, and that all he ever wanted was Britney's freedom. Years later, seemed to prove true.
If she doesn't follow orders, they'll take her kids away. When did somebody kind of wake up and question this?
For years, his voice was silenced. His name was dragged through the headline. But tonight, Sam Lutfi finally speaks. What really happened behind the cameras? What are his thoughts on K-Fed? Justin Timberlake? What are his thoughts now on Britney? This is his side of the story. And this is the Popcorn Interview.
Guys, I love this channel.
But I know all these little details. So when I brought up Kevin, she had never ever said anything negative.
about Kevin. It was the father of her children. She had strict rules about disparaging the kid's father, and I learned that right away. I was like, all right, this is excellent. This is fantastic. I won't say anything else.
I'm going to stop right there. We're already stopping. I'm going to do this throughout the whole thing. It's so interesting that it's usually the one that has stayed quiet, the one who has actually acted like an adult. And you can go watch my video, I think I talked about in the co-parenting video, where I don't regret not telling my babies the truth. Well, I kind of do regret it. When you have familial traffickers and lawyer traffickers that get together, they create an environment to where you do second guess yourself. Why didn't I tell my babies what was going on? But in your mind, it's because you know that you're a good parent, and it's not children's job to deal with adult issues. We don't ask children to deal with adult issues, and none of it has anything to do with them anyways. None of it had anything to do with them. People know that your child is your Achilles heel if you're a good parent. There are people who know that. You could see the difference between a good parent and a bad parent. Some parents, you could take their kids, you could take all 5 of their kids, and they wouldn't care. They would go on the rest of their life stealing other people's babies, pretending those kids never existed. My awareness about other people's lack of mothering is so sharp at this point. But even with those kinds of situations, it doesn't take a sharp awareness of a lack of mothering, because it happens. Not everyone can have their children used against them, because not everyone is a good parent. And that is just the truth. But if you are a good parent, people know that that's your Achilles heel. And we're not talking about people with regular human hearts. They don't care if they hurt you or your child, as long as they get what they want. In my baby's situation, I had 2 grandmas and her father. One grandma was mad at me, and probably still is, even though she'll never admit it, because I sold a house that she had been living in for free for 10 years. And I only sold that house so I could give Joshua $12,000 to pay off the credit card debt that we both built together. It was in his name, but we both built it together. So I wasn't upset about paying that off for him at all. And I had to sell that house to do it. And I needed a vehicle because we were a 1-car family at that point. I had to sell the house. I couldn't afford to not sell it at that time. And it happened that Jennifer had been living in it for free with her husband for 10 years. He doesn't have a job. That was where that spike came from. And when that happened, she made it such a thing. That house was left to me by my father when he passed away. Now, keep in mind, they weren't together when he passed away. She married her husband when I was 10 years old. My daddy didn't even like him. And he lived in my father's house for free for 10 years because I'm kind of a pushover, and I didn't want my mom to be homeless. And right when my dad passed away, that was when Jennifer came up to me saying that her and Chris could no longer afford rent at Ocean Pebbles because he had hurt his back or something. And I'm a good person. My dad just left me this house. Of course, you can move into it for a little while so you get back on your feet. 10 years later, they still live there for free. And eventually, I had to sell it to, 1, pay off Josh's credit card debt, and 2, buy a car, buy a vehicle, because me and Josh were sharing one because my truck had been in an accident like a year before. We only had 1 car, and Josh wanted to leave. He wanted out of that marriage. And I didn't have a car, and he had $12,000 worth of credit card debt, so I paid that for him. I had to buy a vehicle. I had to sell that house to do it. It's one grandmother with a motive, just sheer spite. Her and Chris knew they had been trying to destroy me ever since. Go look at this setup video, which I will also link. I mean, they're making stuff up out of thin air. They were making all of the noise. They were the ones telling the story. And I was being the bigger person. They'll never do that again. Because look what happened. Anyways, Josh's mother has just always wanted to sleep with him. She is emotionally incestuous. She is a toxic boy mom of a grown man. She wants to be his wife. She wanted to mother his. It's disgusting. I will link a video that when I talk about Victoria Beckham and when all that stuff came out. I made a video and told a lot of truths about Lisa because that behavior is disgusting. Even the Bible says, leave and cleave. You're supposed to leave your family and cleave unto your wife or husband. Some of these boy moms can't do that when their boys turn into men. And their boys never turn into men because of that. Josh couldn't even handle his own divorce. He wasn't here when any of it happened. He signed over power of attorney to his mother and was deployed, which also I have found out that Leilani could have hindered everything at that point because Josh wasn't there. She didn't. Trafficking lawyers, meeting with trafficking families. And yeah, Josh wasn't there. But 2 reasons that he has not corrected this in any form are this. I'll tell you why. 1, because he's stuck between a place of his mother and his child, and he's picking his mother. What his mother wants between the well-being of his child, and he's picking his mother. Like I said, these boys never turn into men. And 2, he doesn't have to pay child support. Mama out of the picture. He'll never have to pay anything. It's just like Lisa just came on and swept his daughter's mother away because her baby boy couldn't handle being an ex-husband or co-parent anything, so he doesn't have to. And it's our daughter that suffers because of it. And it's Jana Naderman who is the catalyst for that kind of disgusting trafficking behavior. Jana Naderman absolutely supports a husband financially abandoning a wife. Absolutely. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You think you've done so much good. It doesn't matter. She does not care. These people don't have like these warm souls. They're like robots. They don't care. Money, 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 money. Cha-ching, cha-ching. How many kids can we traffic? How many thousands can I make? Both Britney. Remember I said it's not thousands. Britney was millions. Different. So, in what he just said, and you heard him say it, Britney was the one that said, you're not going to talk bad about the father of my children. You know why she said that? I'm a mother and an alienated parent too. I can tell you exactly why she said that. Because Britney, I'm sure, just like me, loves her kids more than she loves herself. She loves her kids' blood more than she loves her own blood. And half her kids' blood is that man's blood. Even today, forgiving Josh would be so easy. That's half my baby right there. I mean, not within him. I don't want him like that. But my children, same thing with Deacon. It's going to be really hard, no matter what they do, to get me to not want some kind of, Travis didn't do anything. So I don't even know, but I'm just saying it's the same for both kids. Me and Travis are good. And Travis didn't know a lot of what was going on when it was going on. He was lied to as well. So, yeah, no. You don't want anyone talking poorly about the father of your child. And it's not because you have a love for him. It's because you have a love for them. And that's their father. And this is how a healthy parent thinks. When we have Leilani Adams and Jana Naderman trafficking our babies to the unhealthy parent just because they have more money, that is a problem. Money does not make you a good person. Check out the Epstein files. That's all I got to say. Money didn't make him a good person. Did it? No. Money doesn't mean that that children need to be in your company. Money does not mean that you need to have control of children. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Especially if you're mentally ill, like Lisa. Never grew up because you were never allowed to, like Josh. Josh has a little brother who he moved away with his girlfriend not too long after he turned 18. And I don't know for sure, but I don't think he ever came back. He was more aware. He was so much younger than Josh, so much more aware than Josh. These toxic boy moms, you hinder these boys from ever turning into men. It is crazy that Josh's little brother turned into a man before he did, before Josh did. The quiet parent is the one that gets taken for a ride. And because they're quiet, because they've been quiet, because they've been respectful, everyone believes the version of the story that they've already heard. And in psychology, we call this the primacy effect. You believe more the first thing you hear. If you remember the most recent thing you heard, that is called the recency effect. We've all heard the saying, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And that is the idea that the primacy effect is based around. People already have an idea of what, and they're going to run with it. And a lot of times they're not going to remember where they got that information from, or if it's correct. There are a lot of biases, cognitive biases that we have. We talk about source bias. Sometimes we learn things and we don't remember where they came from. And sometimes we learn things and then they're debunked and we don't remember the second part because of the primacy effect. So Britney was being respectful. But you can respect people who don't respect you all day, and it's not going to turn them into good people and make them respect you, because that's inside of someone. There was nothing Britney could have done. Let's keep going.
And that's how it parlayed. People would come in, get their nails done. They would say something about Kevin Federline, and she was not happy. She would ask them to leave or whatever. She looked at it as still he's a member of her family for the rest of her life now. And she respected the fact that they loved him, and she was very hurt by him. But I never heard her ever say anything negative. Never in the sense of I hate him. She felt brokenhearted. And throughout the years, I always considered him a great dad. So I remember when Mark Vincent Kaplan and Laura Walser were
Kevin's lawyers.
I'm willing to bet she doesn't consider him a great dad anymore.
The lawyers were battling back and forth. Britney did not have any, there was no battle on her part to refute whatever the monies were that he wanted. The lawyers want to play that game. They want to swing dick and just be like, hey, this is what we got. She didn't want that. She wanted the kids to live very comfortably. She could afford it.
That's a good parent.
And if it meant Kevin getting a ton of money, that was fine.
That's a good parent. That's a good parent. Lawyers trafficking children and people, that is unnecessary. You just heard him say, Britney had no qualms. Kevin could take whatever he wants, whatever. This is about power. And her family got in on it. She was saying that about the father of her child, not her crazy little sister and her alcoholic dad and her Klingon mother. No, she was saying that about Kevin Federline to begin with. Because, like I just said, half of your baby's blood is that person's blood. That's what makes you family.
Because this is where the children lived half the time. And so that was it. I've never seen her come out and say anything negative about her ex-husband, the father of her children.
You previously wrote that Britney's sons have a great father and that the boys...
Oh, and I didn't either. Not then. Even with all this stuff, how he was harassing me, how he was abusing us financially, how he had abused me through our marriage psychologically, emotionally. I didn't say any of that out loud. I did not. And it wasn't until after he came back and all of this had happened that I was like, oh my God, I have to start telling the truth. It sucks. It sucks. You don't want to do that.
Didn't need to see the mudslinging. I mean, It is really admirable of her. We saw a lot of Kevin Federline. We all had opinions of him.
Absolutely.
But she never took that bait. She seemed to always be mad when people were criticizing him.
On that. Absolutely, 100%.
I was so protective of Joshua after he left that at one point I had a friend named Jessica, she's not my friend anymore, that was talking shit about him online, on trying to do it on my Facebook. And I was actively deleting her comments, asking, who will remember this? There's no way he won't remember this, because he even said something about it. And I was like, look, I've been trying to delete him as fast as I can. Because you want to protect, when you love your child, you want to protect your child's other parent. That's what loving a child is.
So it's disappointing and sad to see that he's writing this book, and like I put in my Instagram post the other day, it could be financially driven. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in his head, but
and now we know that it was financially driven, because that book bombed. It didn't make hardly any money. And like I said at the beginning, he has creditors coming after him already, not even a year after not being allowed to suckle off the teat of Britney anymore. He already has creditors coming after him. Already. It was for money.
Moral compunction to just put that out there and just disparage the mother of his children, knowing that she's never done the same thing to him, is disheartening, and it's sad, because I can only imagine how she feels now, seeing that, figuring that for the last 18 years, she's always protected Kevin, because it's still the father of her cherished young boys. These are the two best things, she always says, that ever happened in her life for her sons. So, yep. And because
that's how a real mother thinks.
Dad,
you've heard me say it so many times.
She had this strong respect for Kevin all the time.
What was your impression when you saw he was...
When you are a good parent, you truly love your child, everything about them, you want to respect their other parent. And if you can't love your child more than you hate your ex, then stop having kids. Don't have kids. That's just a piece of general advice. If you can't get it in your mind or soul to love your children more than you hate your ex, especially when the reason that you hate your ex has nothing to do with your children, you don't need to be procreating, because that's not a good parent. You're still a child. If that's how you're thinking, you are still a child. That is babies having babies.
Do you think he resorted to it? Was it because the money was drying up?
I mean, I'm assuming that must be it. Both of the kids are now 18, right? I think he could have just called her, and spoke to her. Because some of I refuse to read the book, but
And here's another thing. Everyone knows, and everyone knew the whole time. I have said, come over, meet me. Even back in the beginning, please. I invited Josh. Josh and Emily did come over here at one point. And Emily threw a little tantrum because she had to have a conversation with her new little boy toy's ex-wife, which was really weird because we had gotten along before that. But as soon as Josh got back, she flipped a switch. The woman is unstable. She's unstable, and she was showing signs of instability then. And we're almost at 4 years now. So, but yeah, it's always the targeted, not always, but in my case and in this case, it very much seems it's the targeted who is like, no, can we please work it out? Can we please work it out? And then you have courts upholding the abusers. It's insane. Like he said, he could have just called her. But he wouldn't have made money off of calling her, And Josh working things out with me would not profit him at all, because he would be worried that if I got to see Mona more than an hour at a time, I would ask for child support, even though after so long, I don't give a shit. I know that for you, it's all about money, but for me, it isn't. This is crazy. This is crazy. You're hurting our daughter. He didn't care. Babies have
seeing
babies.
These excerpts, and I can't get away from it. People are sending it to me on Twitter and Instagram, etc. But just seeing, it's like no one is really kind of defending her, and also no one was there. I was there. He wasn't there. I was there. I called him. I tried to get a hold of him. I called his lawyer. I tried to call the father of her kids at one of the craziest times of her life, figuring. So, and just reading these excerpts about him being so concerned about her welfare and all that, that's not true. I can just tell you it's not true. It's not true. Because even if you thought I was a horrible person, you pick up that call. I'm the closest person to that person you're concerned of.
Yep.
try to vet me out, figure out what's going on. It never happened.
Now, thank goodness, with Kevin Federline, the public does see like the Suits Debbie. His smoke screen is not thick, but he's managed to lay quiet enough that he could just collect, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching for 13, 14, 15 years while abusing these boys. And I'm going to say it for what it is, because parental alienation is abuse. We all deserve two parents, and you have a loving parent, a safe parent, and you're going to hear Sam say, there was no way that Britney could have been a danger to those boys because she wasn't ever alone with them.
I thought that. Why wouldn't he just call her and work it out like adults would?
I don't think she would have.
Why wouldn't you do that, Josh?
Here, take this money.
Because they're not adults. That's why. He couldn't do that because he's not an adult. Adults don't do this to their kids. A man-child did this to these boys.
The kids love you and adore you.
Well, it's interesting because Britney's now finally speaking out, right? She's been calling him out in a way.
It's the first time I've ever seen her do that. So
did that surprise you?
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to want to talk ill.
But after so many years, you have to. Like, I didn't start telling the truth about Josh until a year after I hadn't seen my babies and everything had happened. A whole year after. After a while, something's got to give. You have to start telling the truth. They put you where you have no option at this point.
Especially of him, and now
she's forced to defend herself. And it's a mudslinging fight she never expected to enter with.
And wasn't interested in, I'm sure. Nobody wants to be a part of that, except crazy people.
What was your impression of that relationship when you met Britney?
I had the same impression that everybody else had. I didn't know much about it. You know, I wanted to respect her beliefs. That she told me she was in love with him. She told me that she was really happy with him.
Do you think Kevin was working with the conservatorship?
I don't believe he was working directly with the conservatorship. Well, it depends on where you time frame that. You know, where you put that in. There was a moment there where he was very close to both her parents when her relationship with them was very tumultuous. Although I was still oblivious to whatever hit him, I thought, we just need family around. You know, there's kids. You know, we should have a grandma, all this kind of stuff around. And we didn't have any of his side of the family ever, which was kind of sad because she was very open to having Kevin over and his mom and you know, for Thanksgiving and all that, and they refused to ever do that, which was sad. So then I would turn to her parents, not knowing what I was dealing with there. It was very new. I was young. I was an idiot back then. And then also living this fantasy, like, you know, I have a great mom, I have a great dad. I had a great dad. God rest his soul. But at the same, so I'm assuming everybody has parents. You should want them around. So I spoke to Lynn daily, and I spoke to her dad, which they would call Big Jaime, maybe twice a week. You know, we'd have lengthy discussions, and hey, it's their child, and they should know what's going on, and thought that they had her best intentions. But Kevin, no, never. He never.
Her own parents didn't have her best intentions. None of that would happen to her if they did. It takes, and I've talked about this, about conspiracy theories on my other channel, on the vlog channel. When you think about a conspiracy, all the word conspiracy means, the root word is conspire. All conspire means is to make plans between two or more individuals or entities. Look at how many moving parts had to be involved to take Britney Spears down. And the reason that I'm saying that is because something very similar happened to me. It took 2 lawyers, 2 grandmas, and a deadbeat daddy who just didn't want to pay child support to make that happen to my daughter. A lot of moving parts. So when you think about the word conspiracy, you're like, that many people couldn't have been involved without anyone saying anything. No, you're thinking about it the wrong way. That many people had to be involved for it to happen. And there's a reason that nobody wants to say anything. And that goes for a lot of conspiracies, even the big ones that, you know, some of you guys believe in. It doesn't just take one person to make such a huge change, a huge dent. It takes a team of people working against one person, which is exactly what happened. She couldn't do anything. There was nothing she could do. He will go on to say that she did everything they asked, because there was nothing to do. It's catching smoke with their fingertips. And I've said that before about my stuff. I did everything they asked, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because the narrative had been created. These litigation traffickers create a narrative a lot like PR teams do each other. And like I said at the beginning of the intro, we saw with the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively stuff and the Rebel Wilson stuff. They create a narrative out of thin air a lot of times. And then they'll either maneuver certain things to make that outcome actually happen, something like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Kind of like if you accuse someone of being mentally ill who isn't mentally ill, but then you take their children because they're mentally ill, even though they weren't mentally ill, they're going to become mentally ill because of what you just did to them. Like that. So they will either make it actually happen, which is very much what I feel like kind of happened with Britney, or they'll just make up a whole bunch of lies and say it did. And if enough people are behind them, if they are tricking enough people, such as the judge, the lady judge in my custody case, she didn't do anything wrong. She would have had no way of knowing that 80% of what was in all those court documents was complete lies. She would have no way of knowing that. So, yeah, it takes a team. And
contact. But then we'd, see a TMZ snippet, and Lynn or Jamie's at his house with the grandkids. And I remember Lynn cutting Preston's hair, and that really, really bothered her because she wasn't talking to her mom, but her mom would then go to Kevin's house, and knowing that the paparazzi's outside, let me just go out the front door and hold the kid with his new haircut. And so I would call Lynn, I go, what are you doing? Oh, I didn't know the paparazzi. What do you mean you don't know the paparazzi are there? They're there all the time. Why are you doing this? Like, what is the purpose of just getting in there and just pushing?
Why are you trying to hurt your daughter? Money.
Kids' buttons all the time. It's your child. It's just, I didn't understand it. It was hard to fathom. It was hard.
It is hard to fathom. And a lot of times when I talk about Jennifer, it's really hard for people to understand because the things that she has done are not the things that a mother does. So it doesn't line up with her position in my life to how she has behaved and everything she's done. It doesn't make any sense to people. And on one hand, it's good that it doesn't make any sense because it means that they haven't experienced anything so atrocious. But on the other hand, it's like he just said, I have a very loving mother. He's talking about himself, Sam, talking about how he has a loving mother, and he didn't understand why they were doing this. And people don't believe what they don't understand. Nobody understood why Jennifer was doing what she did. A lot of people still don't. It is hard to grasp because what is happening does not align with the position this person is supposed to hold in my life as my only living parent. But greed and spite will go a long way. And if you're not a real parent, if you're not a real mother, you'll happily throw your baby under the bus. Remember, Britney's worth millions. Jennifer was just pissed over a house. Pile of bricks. Who does that? Would you give your baby up over a pile of bricks?
The idea. You hear this like Southern Belle when Lynn talks to you, but not really understanding, the possible malignancy of narcissism that's, behind the surface there.
And Jennifer does the same thing. She plays up this like sweet old lady, kind of passive, very smiley when she meets anyone. It's a good veil.
And because you want Britney to win. You want her to win. You want her to have this perfect family. She's this incredible star. But aside from that, we had a great time. She was just a fantastic friend and a great client. And it was just sad that there was no one around. And it was awkward because I know it couldn't just be me. So I remember Thanksgiving, it was me, the court order baby monitor, Britney, and the children. And I'm like, this just needs to stop. Like, what is everyone's problem? And that's when I tried to figure out with the parents, like, why can't we have you here for Thanksgiving? I mean, it's your grandkids, it's your daughter. oh, they have these, you know, bitter pills to swallow from the past, and they want her to apologize on a silver platter for shit she didn't do. Always money. So and I told her, I said, look, send them each $40,000 a month. You have money, you just give it to them. That way they won't talk to the press and all that. So she did. So she started writing checks to them. You know, it didn't help. It was just a sad, it was a sad time. So coming to what people believed of me, I didn't give a damn. I was trying not to watch what was going out there. I didn't know this was going to become so deep. I didn't know, you know, came in, she asked for help. Hey, you know, I think my husband was cheating on me. I'm devastated. My parents suck. I'm thinking, okay, whatever. Huge pop star, sure, I'll show up, drive over. And then, so I was around for a long time, for maybe 8 months where no one saw me, you know? I think there was a couple snippets where in the background people assumed I was a bodyguard. I didn't want to be out there. Just thought, hey, let me go in there. This is a challenging situation. It'd be kind of cool to go in there, help the biggest star in the world and say, hey, this is a cool brick in her foundation where, hey, this was, you know, I aided to this great lifestyle. So there was a little hubris on my part. I was, you know, I thought I could do a lot more than I was capable of doing. Not knowing.
Because it's an unstoppable force. It's unstoppable force when you have that many people working with the courts to traffic other people. It's unstoppable. There's nothing he could have done. There's nothing Britney could have done. And she is still suffering because of it.
How,
you tell.
The situation really was beforehand until I was knee deep in it.
I want to ask you about some of these things in the book that K-Fed wrote, because he's saying Britney would stand silently in his teen son's room at night with a knife in her hand. He's saying that he accuses Britney of wishing her kids dead and punching them.
Let's address that. Her teen sons, which means that they were minors at the time. Their entire time that they were minors, part of the time that I was with her until very recently, she was under a conservatorship, which meant multiple bodyguards, which meant her parents, even though she didn't want them around, which meant nannies, which meant housemaids, which meant assistants and managers and people in the house, never leaving her alone. So you're going to tell me that she was just left alone when the kids were there, and the kids had a story that she was carrying a knife and no one did anything about it? That just doesn't add up.
And it doesn't add up because anything that Britney does, all she has to do is step outside and people are accusing her of the worst. So if she was actually doing the worst, it would be all over. This chick has been being perpetually set up for so long. That wouldn't be something that Kevin Federline, Sticky Fingers, Kevin Federline and his nasty wife, that's not something that they would have just let slide under the radar. No. They would have cashed in on that when it happened for a fucking fact.
Sense. So if the kid told you that, then report that. Call the lawyers, call the conservatorship, address it. Why did you wait so many years when the checks stopped rolling in and write a book and put it in there?
And he just made a very good point that even if it had happened, which I don't think that it did, how could it? She was never left alone. She wasn't even allowed to take showers without being watched. She wasn't allowed to change without people watching her change. She wasn't allowed any privacy. I mean, she was buck naked in front of people that she didn't know because she wasn't allowed to change on her own. That was how psycho. And go back, I'm telling you, Sam Asghari just said recently in an interview, the only oppression that he has seen in America that equals what women go through in Iran was when he was married to his wife, Britney Jean Spears. But Sam just made a really good point. How good of a father are you if that actually happened and you never told anyone? Because if you were holding it, if it actually happened, which I don't think it did, once again, but if it did, and then you were just withholding that information until they were 18 to cash in, that doesn't make you a very good parent, K-Fed, does it? No. That means that you weren't trying to protect their safety at all. Unless you could make a little money off of it. But I don't think it happened.
Because you saw her dancing with knives on Instagram, I'm guessing.
I guess.
The conveniency, right?
I guess.
Guess what? When Britney released that video of her dancing with knives, there was another, and I don't remember, because you guys know I'm not really on, I don't really listen to pop music. The only reason I know about this is because I did listen to pop music when I was younger. I'm 41. In the early 2000s, I listened to pop music. I know Britney Spears is, everyone does. Well, let's do it now. But another piece of context that a lot of people miss when she came out with that video that she was being artistic with the knives, another big performer, like it might have been Iggy Azalea or someone like that, had just done a knife thing on stage. Like Britney was clearly just mimicking some kind of art that she saw. It wasn't like she was holding it to her. Like, insane. We had her dancing with a snake on MTV. We were worried about a grown woman with a knife dancing. Snake would have been worse if that had gone awry. Am I wrong? I'm not. And I love snakes. You guys know. I have my babies. They're still wild animals. I mean, that big with all of those people around, that snake was very well trained.
Here's the correlation. Hey, we saw her dance with knives, so I guess she has a tendency of holding knives. I've never seen a more protective mother in my life. Everything, those kids are everything to her. Everything.
I believe it.
Pretty positive.
I believe it. I feel it.
What the kids are experiencing is parental alienation. They've been alienated from her. They're forced to believe a certain horrible depiction of who she is, which is not true. And you're forced to believe these things, and so every action that she does, anything, they're going to look at it through the lens of this negativity that they want everyone to believe.
And parental alienation goes so deep because of their pediatric neurology. Because they are in these formative years where they're still finding themselves. They, as children, we don't have the whereabouts to understand what's going on. We rely on the adults around us to give us our vision into reality. We know this. So when you're abducting babies in these formative years and giving them, spoon feeding them bullshits of reality, of course that's what they're going to believe. They don't know any better. It's child abuse.
Well, Kevin even said, the sight of seeing Britney Spears in a straitjacket, I mean, her 50
She was never in a straitjacket. Never in a straitjacket.
That's false.
So that's fake. She was never in a
Lies. See? This is what I'm talking about. Kevin Federline wrote a book full of lies. I'm willing to bet there's, and actually I already know there is, because BJ Investigates went over all her court documents. There's lies. It's lies. It's lies that people hang on to. The cost of an innocent woman's life.
Still at that point, I was there. You would have known that.
Yeah, I was there. So that's not true. I don't know what he's talking about.
Two blatant lies in Kevin Federline's book, and we just started talking about it.
Talking about someone else or one of the other wives or mothers of his kids, but maybe, who knows, but it wasn't her.
Britney, is that what you see it as too?
I would have to believe it.
That was an ad. See, I tried, you guys. I'm still learning.
That would be the only reason you'd do that. I think that to stoop that low, somebody has to be really financially desperate. That's just my opinion.
Financially desperate or morally bankrupt, or both.
K-Fed says, "Oh no, it's my time to finally tell my story. My kids are old enough."
Why do
you think it helps the kids?
Why do you want that out there? Why do you want that out there for the kids to just Google and see this about their mom and future grandparents of their children?
Who's already had it so rough too.
Who's already had it so rough. Who's never, and then to pull in the time where she was locked under this illegal conservatorship and monitored and stripped of any personal autonomy or rights of doing anything on her own. And then sit there and observe anything that she did there and then put it in a book and say, well, this is what she did and she had an eye for whatever nonsense that he's writing there's no other word for it other than disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I hope that the boys would wake up and realize, wait a minute, this is the only person in our family that works. I mean, the only reason why they lived in that house growing up, the only reason why both the parents have a home is because their mom works. And the only reason why she was under conservatorship was because of them.
If you could talk to the kids, what would you want them to know?
Britney, I want to make something clear. Britney was trafficked for labor because she wasn't allowed to have cash. She wasn't allowed to have an ID or wallet or car or go anywhere. She was told no to the things she was allowed to have for dinner. Her daddy was making more money off of her. He was allotting himself more money than she was getting from her work. He wasn't doing anything. except getting drunk enough to lose a leg. That's it. Off of her. This is labor trafficking. But it also falls under the umbrella of litigation trafficking because it did happen through the courts.
Your mom sacrificed everything for you guys. She sacrificed everything. Yeah. I was on numerous
She'd do
calls
it again.
with her
I know she.
Earlier on in the conservatorship, where we got Lori. She would want out all the time. The stress she was under was incredible. And then somebody would always catch on in that camp. There was no alliances. It was really sad. And then they would find out that either we were talking or had some sort of communication, and because they tapped everything. And then they would come to her and they wouldn't say, "Hey, we know you're talking to Sam." They'd just say, "Hey, just so you know, if you try anything like that, you'll never see the boys again." And then the next call we.
Grown woman. Just trying to have a call with her friend. And people are above her saying, "You'll never see your kids again if you try to talk to your only friend."
Is this true? So I don't know if it's true. She goes, "Well, I mean, they have Kevin under control. They talk to Kevin whenever they want. They didn't let me see the kids for a couple months one time, and Kevin agreed to that, and so they're controlling." I said, I don't know, but I mean, let's get you out and do that." "No, not going to do that. I want out of this. It's killing me, but no, there's no way I'm going to risk not seeing my boys."
So they were dangling.
And they'll do that, hold it over your head to control you, so that you won't tell the truth. They'll continue. This is where the team that trafficked my kids failed, because I already haven't seen them. There's nothing left. They took my name for a year. There's nothing left to take, which puts me in a unique position to be able to speak out. There's nothing left to take. But they were holding her God-given right to see her babies, and those boys' God-given right to have a mama over her head just to control her.
All the time.
To keep her under control.
All the time.
You witnessed that yourself.
100%.
It seems that really was the thing that they knew they could use against her.
That was it. And then, of course, once the boys are close to 18, there was nothing to dangle over, and now the conservatorship's over. Coincidence?
And that's why I asked, do you think K-Fed was involved, or was this just the lawyers and everybody?
The lawyers were,
Although I do think, I'm going to add this. One, Britney is so traumatized at this point. Everyone who says that she's substances, whatever. No, we don't know. We're not there. But I can tell you that trauma looks a lot like substance abuse sometimes, with no substances involved. Our brains do weird things to cope with the unimaginable when it's happening. And a lot of times, while after it has happened, this is a pain, a trauma that Britney and her sons, mostly her probably, is going to be feeling for the rest of her life. And it's going to take her a while to work through it. I feel like it's just going to take her. I mean, it took 13 years of abuse to get her there. Let's give it at least half that to help let her heal. She doesn't get to heal. And her conservators want that. Andy calls them Team Con.
We're just doing their lawyering, They're opportunists at that moment, saying, "Hey, we'll see what the conservators
scavengers
do."
Opportunists and scavengers.
And I think maybe whatever the child support was, and that was comfortable, and the lawyer's fees are getting paid, so let's just string it along. No fighting for the mother of his kids. There was no battle for that at all.
You said something to me that did really stick with me. Everyone says the conservatorship was good for her.
Mm-hmm.
It was good for her, but everyone was kind of good for them. It was good for the fans.
Good for the fans.
Was it really good for her? Can you elaborate on that more?
To be on the receiving end of a call Sometimes you wouldn't hear anything for months, and then you get a call, and it's like some weird name. I pick it up, and it's her. It's like, I borrowed a phone. I'm at the supermarket. I borrowed a phone. And I go, so, because sometimes you'd watch the footage and you think, all right, she's maybe becoming content with this.
Literally had to beg a stranger to use a phone so that she could make a phone call. That's not someone, that is someone being held captive. That is someone being held captive.
And, I'd say, all right, she looks good. And maybe she's happy, so this is over. Because it's not me trying to reach her. And how would I do that? I mean, I can't make up a phone number and try to reach her. I'd get these calls, and she'd just say, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I have to eat a certain amount. My dad wants me to be in this shape. I have to tour. I don't want to do this. And, but if it means.
And that was another thing. Her dad used to make nasty comments about her body if she wasn't in tip-top shape. So, a man who didn't have a job, and apparently she's not healthy enough to take care of herself, but she's healthy enough to work for you in a perfect body condition and give you millions. She's healthy enough for that, but not to take care of herself. That doesn't make any sense.
Seeing the kids, they want money, they want to do this, and okay, let's regroup. And I'm out doing whatever. I'm not prepared for a call like that, and it's like then I have to call Laura and convince them this is really Britney calling, and she's. I think where I think Kevin has this line where he's so concerned about her. The only concern that I've ever seen was when she was in this conservatorship, under all that pressure, and just this ticking time bomb, just ready to explode. And I would try to sit and let her vent and talk, and I would try to give her hope, and maybe.
When an individual is underneath that kind of control, psychologically, when an individual is one, underneath that type of control, and two, put in a fishbowl, there's a reason that that's happening. Being observed so tightly under those kinds of control, it is like dousing someone in gasoline and then taking a box of matches and just throwing them and see which one lights them up. And then the abuser can look at them and be like, see, I told you, look, she just blew up. I told you she's crazy. It's deception at its finest. And it's something that a lot of people can't see through because we don't want to,
False promises, thinking, okay, we'll hire people, get you out. Years would go by, boom, you'd constantly hear back. And it's like, so I maintained my lawsuit.
Why do we browse like this? Hunting, clicking, searching.
All right, we'll get her, and then she could say her piece to the people, and that's why I strung the lawsuit around, and then they dismissed it, and I appealed it, which cost me a lot of money, and I won the appeal, and it was like, all right, great, we can get her in court, and then she can just tell the world on live camera. But then they sealed all that, so they knew that, okay, we're coming to that. There was going to be no way anything she said was going to be made public. And then it would just always come down to, well, you're not going to see your kids again. And then they would do that. They would take the kids away, and she wouldn't see them for a few weeks or longer. And that is so traumatic to any mother, but especially her.
Yeah.
So the amount of possible PTSD, the amount of whatever they were medicating with her, or overly medicating.
What Britney's have wouldn't be considered PTSD. It would be considered CPSD. Because it's something that happens over a long period of time. So the difference between PTSD and CPSD is post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. One stems from one event. One stems from a series of traumas, which is what Britney would, and I have no doubt that she's suffering.
Or making her do stuff. And the threat of seeing her kids and being forced to perform and bring in the money. Imagine the mental anguish and trauma.
Throwing matches.
And then to have the conservator be the person that you are frightened of the most. This dad that has been estranged in your whole life. So to have this type.
And she said from the get-go that she was afraid of her dad before any of this ever happened. Because he's an alcoholic. He's a violent alcoholic. Courts didn't care because lawyers were doing their trafficking.
Already fearing him when he was in conservatorship. She always feared him. So, you have this ornery, very irascible man. Anything will just set him off. And he just would walk around and say, I'm Britney Spears. And yeah, I had this control. And everyone was deathly afraid of what would happen.
There's even more to watch of our exclusive interview with Sam Lutfi, so hit that subscribe button.
Okay, so that was the first installment of that interview. There are 2 others, and like I said, I will link the playlist in the description. And I am working on the rest of it. As you can tell, my clipping skills still not amazing. We're learning. But as always, I just want to thank all of you for watching. I am so grateful for every single one of you. These are very real issues with real people. And when you see something similar that happened to your babies on such a grander scale as what has happened to Miss Britney Spears, it's hard not to want to call it out because you see it from the trenches and you're like, no, this is what's happening, But if you are watching this on the Courthouse Kidnapping YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. And also go subscribe to the vlog channel too. I have 2 videos over there about Britney Spears' crazy little sister. She's a nutcase. Her little sister, we are talking grab a knife at a Subway to threaten someone with. We are talking her own cats and them blaming Elon Musk for it type of crazy. But locking her up wouldn't make that family money. So, I'm going to put that out there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you. Subscribe. Part 2 is coming. I promise it will come sooner than this one did in comparison to when I recorded it. I promise. Thank you guys so much for watching. Y'all are amazing.